The Raiders are coming. Just look around Las Vegas and you'll see silver and black pride everywhere. Welcome to the Flood Channel. I'm your host, Beatriz Martinez. On today's show, we'll show you just what it takes to build a home for Raider Nation. Here at the Raiders Preview in Town Square, you can get a glimpse of what the stadium will look like. But what you won't see is what lies beneath.
Every day, the Las Vegas Stadium gets closer to the Raiders' home opener in 2020. Right now, there's daily blasting to remove layers of caliche where the field will sit. Heavy equipment is hauling soil as heavy as concrete from 40 feet down to make room for a retractable field. It's a massive project on 62 acres across from the Mandalay Bay, and none of this could start until crews could rip out an existing flood channel under the proposed stadium.
Day one, we knew box culvert. That was just ingrained in our heads of something that we knew we needed to, account for. It was always a priority, and I think being one of the first projects we kind of dealt with the stadium, we really saw that. The amount of time and effort that brought everyone together to make sure we got this taken care of really gave us the foundation that we were going to be doing some special things here, because that really got accelerated, and just by the progress of where it's at now and how fast it's gone, it really set the tone for really the project and how we got started.
The Raiders worked with contractors Mortenson McCarthy, the design team at Kimley Horn, and the Regional Flood Control District to figure out how to move the channel to allow the stadium to be built and keep flood control in place.
Every challenge has a solution, and I would tell you that the team has huddled together as far as the local communities, the local trade partners, the politicians have all come together and have really, and the local agencies have all, had the main focus of building this project and bringing the Raiders to Las Vegas, and I think it's been everybody's main goal. The existing culvert that spans from basically Polaris through the project site onto the connector road is actually in the way of the future stadium. This all happened, there's some setback requirements for the stadium that had to move the project stadium away from the interstate. When that happened, the outline of the stadium was in the way of the existing culvert. We worked with the Corps of Engineers, Regional Flood, Public Works to relocate the culvert, and so it's about 375 feet away from the stadium in its new alignment.
The original channel was built in partnership with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. As a result, the Army Corps has been highly involved in approving design plans, and it recently visited the site to make sure everything was being built as approved. The old channel has already been demolished, and the new channel has been built. Crews are finishing up the concrete top on the reinforced concrete boxes.
So one of the main concerns that we had and that the Corps of Engineers had was what's going to happen during construction if a storm event were to hit. And so the Corps in particular required the contractor to come up with almost like an emergency action plan to determine what would happen, what their practices would be if a storm event were to hit.
Some challenges are, this is a Tropicana detention basin. It fills up with water, and it fills up to 4 feet high when you have a 100-year flood. And not knowing when that next 100-year flood was, we had to do a lot of mitigation planning with the Corps and Regional Flood on how to build this project in different phases.
Emergency plans were created to divert water in case of flooding. The flood channel carries water from throughout the southwest part of Las Vegas during rain events. Luckily, permits were in place to allow construction to occur during mostly a dry winter and spring.
Then when we went to construction, there was some very large NV Energy conduits in Polaris that had to be relocated, and again NV Energy came to the table and did their part and expedited everything and kept everything moving. And as you mentioned, the box culvert got out of the way of the foundation of the stadium in time.
Every construction project has its shares of unforeseen circumstances. Moving the culvert just 300 feet led to one unexpected find: a Nevada Energy electrical conduit that wasn't on the existing plans.
We had some utility conflicts in the field, so we've had unknown utilities that were in the proposed alignment, and so we've had to work with Nevada Energy and Regional Flood and the Corps to reroute the culvert for a temporary bypass. We've done that work this far, and now Nevada Energy has moved some of their alignment of their poles and their lines, and we're now installing some new utility alignments, and which will sink underneath our culvert and will allow us to proceed forward with the original planned culvert.
Another issue that arose during construction was the length of time it took the concrete to strengthen after it was poured. The concrete did not reach the desired strength after 28 days. Instead of ripping out all of the boxes, the county and the contractor waited, and after 45 days, the concrete exceeded its strength. Now it's just up to the contractor to put the finishing touches on the channel.
It keeps the same size and alignment, so there is the same ultimate protection. And another design challenge was making sure that while the culvert was being relocated, that we were protected during a flood event, should that happen while the box culvert was being relocated. So there was a lot of thought put in by the Mortenson McCarthy team of during construction how they could make sure that everything was protected in the interim. In the end, it will be the same channel operating the same way, but the interim piece is something that has to be considered from an engineering perspective and a construction perspective.
Now that the flood channel is all but finished, the stadium can really take shape. In just a few months, the Las Vegas skyline will have a new prominent feature. Mortenson McCarthy is using local staff who have worked on projects in Southern Nevada.
So Mortenson McCarthy is a joint venture. Mortenson has the sports group, history and background and knowledge on the project, and McCarthy brings the local presence. And we align in a lot of our core values and the culture that our employees embrace out here. And Mortenson McCarthy has done other projects together as joint ventures, so it made sense on this project to combine again. You're always under the microscope, which is good. We take pride in keeping a clean job and making sure that we keep everybody to the high safety standards that we have for each project. And so we're looking forward to the successful project with the local community and everybody that has something to offer for the stadium, because there are a lot of proud Raiders fans out here, and they deserve the best.
When you see all of the work that's going on in the stadium right now, it's hard to believe that just a couple months ago, the whole project was in jeopardy. It took a lot of cooperation to get the ball rolling in time.
On paper, it's relatively simple to move a flood control channel. But when you're moving a flood channel paid for with federal dollars, the feds want to know exactly what you're doing. And it's common for a federal review to stretch into years.
Because there was federal dollars involved in the construction of that project, that means that the federal government, or the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in this case, has to permit that modification. Anytime there's a modification to any facility that was built by the Corps, it has to be approved through the Corps through what we call a 408 permit process. So generally when you're getting a 408 permit, it can take 12 to 18 months, which is quite a bit more time than we had in terms of the schedule for the Raiders trying to get their stadium open by the 2020 season. And so we had to find ways to try to accelerate that.
Yeah, it was a little bit expedited. The way that we got this permit in record time was strictly partnership and teamwork. That's the only way we got it done. And from the very beginning, Clark County Regional Flood Control District, the Board of County Commissioners, the Raiders, the contractor Mortenson McCarthy, the environmental consultant and the geotech consultant, and obviously the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And our team of Kimley Horn, we had partners from all over the United States that were experts in what we needed to do in structural and H&H and civil. All of these people came together, and in the very beginning we set the tone with a meeting with the Army Corps of Engineers in May of 2017 and said, we need a permit by fall or the stadium schedule's in jeopardy. It
was a really quick turnaround on the permit. Again, it usually takes 12 to 18 months. We got it done in about 3.5 months. I think we can thank the LA District of the Corps for stepping up and really getting on this permit and recognizing the importance of this permit for the Las Vegas Valley.
Simply put, everyone had to work at the top of their game to get the stadium started. Regional Flood couldn't have done it without Kimley Horn. Kimley Horn needed Mortensen McCarthy, the contractors needed the Raiders, and everyone needed the Army Corps.
There were other pieces, the Army Corps permit was one piece of the puzzle. The plans, the box relocation plans also had to be permitted through all the agencies and through flood control, through all of the utility agencies. So we had to have a permit by December 15th, 2017, or the entire project was in jeopardy. And it was really the first milestone of the project from a construction and engineering phase. So it felt really good as a team for us to make that goal, and so many people who helped us get there. And it's teamwork, and it's all of the engineers at Kimley Horn and outside of Kimley Horn and the consultant team that really just came together and got it done. But it is a community partnership.
When the federal fiscal budget ran dry, Regional Flood entered into an agreement with the feds to fund the review and go into a separate agreement with the Raiders to pay for it.
We entered into an agreement with the Corps wherein we could provide funding to the Corps to allow the permit to be expedited, the review of the permit to be expedited. At the same time, in parallel to that, we entered into an agreement with the Las Vegas Stadium, LLC, for them to provide those funds for us. So we basically took the funds from the Raiders organization and passed it on to the Corps so that that permit review could be expedited. And it wound up trimming the review time down quite a bit. Once the agreements were in place at the end of August, we wound up getting the permit issued in the middle of December. So it took about 3.5 months.
When we came into Las Vegas, I think our main priority was to, create a relationship built on teamwork. That's kind of the organization. That's kind of something that we're really proud of the way we operate. So when we came down here, just understanding that we're all working towards one common goal, the stadium, which really has an impact on the entire Southern Nevada area. So when we came in and, really understanding that we're all, each of us have different areas of expertise, but at the end of the day, in 2020, when we get the stadium, it's going to be something we're really going to be proud of.
I was born and raised in Las Vegas, so I know how great Las Vegas is and how great our partners are, and it was great that the Raiders and everybody got to see that. I think it was fantastic. I'm also a two-time UNLV grad, so one of my other favorite things, and I think it's going to be great for the school. It's going to be a great community partnership, and they've also come to the table as a partner in this whole thing, so I think it's going to be great.
Any NFL stadium or any community you go to, you really need buy-in from everyone. And when we decided to make the move to Las Vegas, we kind of knew that this was a special market, and since we've been here, we've really seen the community, even with the Golden Knights success and kind of, just seeing the amount of Raider logos in the community and just some of the events that we're doing, we're really seeing that people here are really passionate about sports, they're passionate about football. People might be fans of other teams, but we're kind of seeing that the Raiders are really doing a lot of stuff to kind of bring people together, and the stadium really is going to create a lot of opportunities that can further that community bonding and things like that.
One reason that every piece had to fit perfectly is the flood culvert at the Raiders Stadium. It protects the Las Vegas Strip against flash flooding. Let's take a look at how the district protects the southwest of the valley and the Las Vegas Strip from flash flooding.
Nearly 40 million visitors spent time on the Las Vegas Strip last year, pouring money into the local economy and driving revenue to the entire state. There are numerous basins and channels protecting it. The one at the Las Vegas Stadium is just one piece of that protection.
The southwest part of the Las Vegas Valley has a lot of flood control facilities that were built through the Corps of Engineers project. This is an important project for us. All the flows that land in that southwest part of the valley flow down and funnel down into the Flamingo Wash, which flows through the resort corridor at Caesars Palace, goes underneath Las Vegas Boulevard, and continues on through the city to Las Vegas Wash. So it was important for us to get a project put together that could help capture and control the flows that were coming out of the mountains and draining through that whole southwest part of the valley.
Back in the 1980s, the Regional Flood Control District began looking at a massive project to provide the needed protection to the region.
In 1991, we had a feasibility study that was done, which basically took a look at the benefits of building all these facilities versus the cost. And we could use that information, the benefit to cost ratio, to compare our project to other projects across the country in terms of whether it's worthy of getting federal funding.
The U.S. Army Corps accepted the study and sent it to Congress in 1995.
It's a $336 million project. The federal portion of it was 75%, which is about $252 million. And then the local agencies, which is the Regional Flood Control District and Clark County Public Works, paid the other 25%, or about $84 million. Pretty much any water that falls in the southwest part of the valley, and that would really be from like Red Rock Country Club all the way down to like Rhodes Ranch, that whole southwest part of the valley, it all funnels down through the resort corridor, which is very important to the Las Vegas area. As you know, we don't want flooding to occur there, and we want those areas to be flood resilient. And so collecting all of these flows and getting them contained and essentially tamed was important to us to make sure that it protected the economic vitality of the Las Vegas Valley.
The flood control developed with the Army Corps of Engineers provided so much coverage that 19 square miles of flood zone were removed.
So the core project overall included 3 new detention basins, 3 debris basins, and the expansion of 2 existing detention basins. And then along with that, 28 miles of channels and storm drains were built to take all that water that's being collected by those basins and funnel it through that southwest part of the Las Vegas Valley. It's true that the people that were removed from the flood zone are no longer required to buy flood insurance if they have a federally backed mortgage, but as you know, all property owners, whether you're in a flood zone or not, are allowed to get flood insurance. So you can still purchase that flood insurance at a minimal cost. That's about $1 a day to get flood insurance when you're not in a flood zone. We're proud of the fact that these facilities have really been working over the years. They've been tested many times, and so not only do these people not have to pay flood insurance, but they don't really have to deal with that risk of flooding as much anymore. They're much more resilient to the risk of flooding because of the existence of all these facilities. I know that we've had storm events in the southwest part of the valley that were multiple, 2 inches or more in just a few hours, very intense storm events. And those storms were handled by these flood control facilities very well. In the past, if those same storms were to hit, we would have had significant flooding throughout not just the southwest part of the valley, but all the way down Flamingo Wash to Las Vegas Wash.
Lake Mead is full of life, a seemingly endless aquatic parade, attracting and sustaining busy desert creatures. It's one of the most diverse ecosystems in Nevada, with species found nowhere else on Earth. But every time soap suds run down your driveway, oil drips in the streets, fertilizer washes off your lawn, or random trash gets swept in our storm sewers, their home gets a little uglier. They get a little sicker. If we don't take simple steps to change our ways, soon you'll wonder where all our friends have gone. It's time to clean up our act, Southern Nevada. To get your home or business lake-friendly certified, visit belakefriendly.com.
Mind the road. Flash flood season is here.
Contractors have to keep an eye to the skies at the stadium site. Any amount of rain can impact operations. Thankfully, it was a relatively dry winter.
The rain finally came back on January 9. After months of a prolonged dry spell, the entire Las Vegas Valley got more than an inch of rain in the 24-hour period between January 9 and 10. The rain was steady but moderate and stayed within flood control channels. The biggest problems were traffic accidents. It seemed motorists had forgotten how to drive on wet roads.
This storm ended a record stretch of 116 days where we had no precipitation at the airport. We received 1.33 inches of rain on January 9th, which broke the previous record for any date in January, and 1.47 inches for the entire storm on the 8th and 9th, which was over 1/3 of our average annual precipitation. Normally we experience about half of our annual precipitation during the monsoon season from July to September, and the other half of our annual precipitation occurs during the rest of the year. Oftentimes with storms like what we just experienced in January 8th and 9th. This one was particularly wet compared to some of them, although we've seen a lot more, at different times in the past. This was just a particularly strong one for this time of year.
During the monsoon season, a map of the Las Vegas Valley will usually show a few areas where heavy rain is falling. In January, the entire region got a taste of the rain.
The thing to note about storms like this that occur during the winter months is they tend to have a lot more widespread precipitation than just the localized effects of the storms that occur during the monsoon. While we had about 1.5 inches of rain at the airport, we had this was the kind of numbers we saw across the entire valley, whereas during a thunderstorm you may see it in little portions of the valley and not the entire valley at one time.
Overall, we had a very warm and very dry winter. But even during the driest spells, rain can lead to flooding in channels and washes. During the January 9 storm, several homeless people were rescued from channels that had filled with water.
We can still have flash flooding during the winter months because any rain that falls still runs off and runs into the flood control channels. We had, on January 9th, we did have several swiftwater rescues due to the rainfall. The flooding threat is not limited to the monsoon season, although the greatest threat is during the monsoon season.
The National Weather Service began keeping records in Las Vegas in 1937. The 116 days of no precipitation surpassed the old record of 92 days with just a trace of precipitation. And while we've had wetter Januaries, we haven't had a wetter 24-hour period as we had on January 9th. It's still too soon to tell what this year's monsoon season will bring.
It's tough to predict the monsoon and exactly how strong that's going to be this far out, but as of now, climatologically, we expect it to be relatively dry and warm just throughout the whole period. With La Nina, we generally expect drier conditions around here, but again, that's just a general expectation. We can have wet La Nina years. A large factor, and this is why it is so difficult to predict the monsoon as far out, a large factor in terms of how much precipitation we get during the monsoon is driven by tropical activity. And tropical activity is, we can't predict where and when the storms are going to affect us this time of year. We live in a dry desert climate. Any rain can cause flooding, and even though we got 1.5 inches in one day, we've still been very dry for a long period of time. During calendar year 2017, we received just over half of our normal annual precipitation. So we're under a very dry stretch, and I don't see any reason that that's not going to continue.
Got Raider Mania yet? You can come here to Town Square and learn more about the Las Vegas Stadium. And for all things flood, you can always follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or go to our website at regionalflood.org.